Hello and welcome to another episode of MacStories Unwind. I'm John Voorhees, and I have Federico Vitici here alongside me. How are you, Tici?
Hello, John. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's spooky season, Federico. You know, as the kids like to say on the internet.
I am going to sound like an old person.
You are. It's good though because you'll make me feel young.
I'm embracing this side of me. I never actually really got Halloween as a thing. When I was a kid, here in Italy, it was not as big a deal as it is now. Right?
No, because it's like an American thing that's been exported.
It's an American thing that's been exported, and so in the mid '90s, when I was like 7 or 8, I believe there was vaguely a notion of Halloween, but I remember saying, "Oh, it's an American thing. It's not like it was after. It was basically after it was the internet, and
that's interesting.
American culture coming to Europe when it basically it really became a thing."
It's a cancer. It's a cancer on Europe, is what it is.
Well, no, culture. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't push it that far. Jesus.
I know. I'm just being provocative today on Unwind.
But yes, I mean, to give you an example, today I went to my favorite grocery store. It's a family-run, family-owned grocery store, and they had Halloween decorations outside.
Oh, okay.
And they had Halloween cookies and pumpkins inside. So, it's now a thing. It's a thing here, fully a thing. But what I don't understand is that what the difference between what I see in Italy and what I see online coming from America. Because if the theme of Halloween is, jack-o'-lantern, be spooky, at least in Italy we're trying... with the skeletons and the monsters and the ghosts and the pumpkins. Why do I see Americans being like, oh, for Halloween, I'm going as Ted Lasso? That ain't spooky. What's spooky about that?
I was wondering where you were going.
I'm going as, I don't know, I'm going as Super Mario for that's not spooky.
Right. No, I was wondering where you were going with that. It is not spooky, and that's a good question. I it's always been like that at least since when I was a kid, and I think maybe I don't know. Kids want to. It's kind of like cosplay, right? I mean, people want to dress up as their favorite character, not necessarily dress up as a ghost, and you're kind of limited with the spooky stuff, so. People have always dressed up as their favorite TV character or cartoon character or movie, theme or whatever, I think.
But that's against the whole theme.
All right. Halloween. Well, you are a Halloween strict constructionist, as they would say if we were talking.
I'm a Halloween truther, so to speak.
Yes. Well, if we were talking about the Supreme Court, you would be a strict constructionist because judges who go by the letter of the law and not the spirit of the law are considered strict constructionists. So what you're doing is you're going by the letter of Halloween, which is meant to be
all I'm saying is that there are other holidays for cosplaying and putting up a costume. There's Mardi Gras, for example.
Okay.
There's what we call in Italy Carnevale, which would be the carnival, which would be
it's the same thing, right? Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras. Yeah, it's that period, and you put up a costume. You go up dressed up as, and that can be a variety of costumes. Not spooky. You can be spooky or not. But Halloween. I mean, if the symbol of Halloween is the spooky pumpkin, the carved out pumpkin, why go as a non-spooky character?
All right. Well, I get it. I get where you're coming from. Let me ask you about Italian Halloween. One of the things that's very big here in the U.S., and I will admit my brother does this at his house here in the Charlotte area. He puts up these giant blow-up things that at night they run on like a little blower motor that he has like a skeleton or a ghost that blows up then as tall as his house in his front yard. Now, I know you don't live in a house with a front yard, but when you're out and about, and somebody who actually has a little land around their house, are people doing blow-ups and things like that?
Never seen it.
Yeah.
Never seen
That's
it.
a big American
also,
thing.
knowing Italians,
Mm-hmm.
especially here, those things wouldn't last. They would get
Yeah,
stolen right away, instantly stolen.
Oh yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very suburban thing for sure around here. I have never actually done a blow up. I know that I think Jason Snell does some of that kind of stuff.
Do you
But-
mean when you say the blow up, you mean like those things outside of car dealerships?
Well, sometimes they're like that where they kind of flap in the breeze and stuff, but sometimes they're
Right.
more like almost more like balloons, but they're not like floating. They've just got enough-
inflatable things.
yeah.
basically,
So
like-
it might
yeah,
be
okay.
a giant pumpkin as big as your house, or a
Right,
or a
wow.
ghost, or a
Okay.
monster, or something. I saw a cool one the other day. I was out walking around the neighborhood with Jennifer, and this house had these. You remember the video game, The Day of the Tentacle, which had that.
Oh yes,
that
okay, that's a
purple
throwback.
Yeah, that purple squid monster with kind of the pink suction cups on its tentacles. They basically had that monster surrounding their entire house. So there were like
Okay.
there were
okay.
tentacles coming out of the windows. There were
Okay,
tentacles
wow.
coming around the corner of the house. It was huge. It was obviously a bunch of different pieces that were attached somehow to the house, but it actually looked pretty cool. I like that one.
I mean, that's dedication. It's spooky. See, it's not like that person put up the Mushroom Kingdom at their house.
Right, had Prince's Peach out front.
That's what I'm saying. Like you're supposed to, right? You're supposed to put up something spooky, like
Yeah.
tentacles all over the place. Yeah, we've been over this before. There isn't really a here, but like the whole sort of in terms of like even urban planning, the
Yeah.
idea of the suburbs as you know them in America, it's
Sure.
not really a thing in Italy. There
No.
are maybe some. What I will say though is that maybe you can find that style of suburban living in like private. How would you call them? But like
Yeah, like little
pri-
private housing communities of some kind. where
yes,
it's
like a private housing community.
We often
yes.
call them gated communities here because a lot
gated
of
community. Yes, it's the same. It's the same terminology here. A gated
Okay.
community. There's actually one. Near my place. It's called the Green Gardens or something like that.
Okay.
And that's the idea, right? Where you have there's a gate and there's like security and it's all only for the people who live there.
Right.
But you have the private street and everybody has their front lawn. But like it's a private thing. You
Yeah.
wouldn't have that sort of a suburban planning in an open and public neighborhood here.
Okay.
You know?
All right. Interesting. Well, interesting because so you end up. I mean, this is like a part of Italy that I don't really know very well because when I've ever been in Italy, it's been in Rome, which is obviously a big
Yeah.
city, or Viterbo when you took me there, and in between, I guess it's mostly rural, essentially, right?
Yes.
I mean, countryside, because that
Yes.
drive to Viterbo is very much through the countryside. In
And
between.
it's basically the same everywhere, really. That's
Yeah.
sort of, it's that idea. Italy, you basically have the two types, and I'm gonna simplify here. You have the two types of mountains. You have the Alps in the north,
Right.
and you have the Apennini. I don't know what's the English term, but that's basically like the mountains that sort of cut Italy halfway through vertically, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to go from the western coast, which is where Rome and Viterbo are, to
Right.
the eastern coast, that would be the region of Abruzzo, for example, you're driving through the mountains in that case. But yeah, Italy is basically just a bunch of cities and a bunch of small towns and villages,
Right.
connected by there's a highway, obviously, and then smaller and smaller and smaller roads
Yeah.
as you go further and further. But yeah, that's the idea. And so and typically most big cities, they have the historical center and they have the neighborhoods like you've seen. You still haven't been to my new place, right?
No, I haven't. We got to change that
Jeez.
for sure.
Yeah, it's been 2 years. But
I
yeah,
know.
you basically have those neighborhoods, but you don't really have that style of suburbs
Right.
unless it's a gated community. And in that sense, I've seen plenty of those, but no, not public ones.
Yeah, that makes sense. And now the mountains that you were talking about to go from west to east, those are smaller, lower mountains, obviously.
Oh,
than,
yes.
than like
Oh,
the
yes.
Alps. Yeah, that's a little
Yes.
bit. I think that those mountains. I mean, having seen at least the foothills where Viterbo kind of sits, it very much like the mountains in North Carolina on the eastern United States, which are, they're old, low mountains, but they are still mountains.
Yeah. And you have mountains that are higher than the one that,
if
like
you go out
those
west,
hills
if
that
you
you've seen in those hills that you've seen in Viterbo, like there's higher ones,
Right.
And there's a beautiful, like in the region of Abruzzo, which I mentioned, there's I believe it's the biggest national park in Italy. That's where a specific type of bear and a specific type of wolf are protected species.
Interesting.
So,
I did not know that you had bears in Italy. Very nice.
Oh yeah, it's called Orso Marsicano. That's Orso would be bear, and that's a specific. Yeah,
maybe they'll come down and visit you like they've done in my neighborhoods. You never know. We could compare bears at some point.
Don't get me started on that. There's been a whole political thing over the past 2 years about these
the
bears
wolves or the bears,
the wolves and the bears, and the current government that we have has been pushing for killing those bears, which it's become a whole political thing. As you may imagine, I am incredibly against it. But it's a whole thing.
Well, it's a whole thing with the humans are encroaching on natural habitats and forcing these animals into what would normally be just neighborhoods, and that's a new thing. I think that's definitely happening here. I mean, places like where I live, the greater Charlotte area, are growing exponentially fast, and it creates problems.
Yeah. So anyway, now that's a whole. It started with Halloween. We ended up talking about bears.
We always get back to the wildlife at some point. It's good though. I think that you wouldn't expect it. I don't think you and I are really these like the outdoorsy naturalist types. Although
actually, I was thinking the other day. There's a profession that fascinates me.
What's that?
I kind of want to get at some point in my life into falconry.
Interesting. Yeah, that is kind of cool. I think
like
that is
the guy with the falcon on his arm.
Yeah, he's got the big glove, the big leather glove.
Yeah. I'm really fascinated by it, and like you can become friends with him, and you can call him, and like people. I feel like if you become like what I don't know, a falconer, is that the name?
That's what we call him. I think you've been playing too many video games, Federico. I
don't know. I feel like people really respect you.
Well, yeah, especially if you can take your falcon and say, "Go get that person."
Yeah,
right.
You don't want to mess with the guy with the falcon.
No, you don't. You don't. My weapon is a bird.
Anyway,
right.
we got picks. We have picks.
We do. Okay, so my two picks are something that we'll be talking a little bit more extensively about on NPC, Next Portable Console, next week. But I'm so excited that I wanted to bring these to MacStories Unwind too, and that is Pokemon TCG Pocket and Nintendo Music. So the Pokemon TCG Pocket is a card game that is based, I guess it's an iOS version of the traditional card game, but streamlined. It's not nearly as complex, I think, as the traditional paper card game, which I've never played. But I started playing this yesterday when it came out, and I've really enjoyed it because it's, it does a very nice job of approximating the physical world in the sense that a couple of times a day, you can open up a pack of cards. You open them up, you look at your cards. It lets you kind of use your finger to move around them, look at the front, look at the back. They've got shiny animations and things that make them look kind of 3D. And then you put them in your Pokédex. And your Pokédex actually has slots in it for every single card. And obviously, when you start out, you don't have all the cards. And you see these cards that you unwrap go flying into the Pokédex. So you get a sense for which, parts of the Pokédex you've filled, how many empty slots there are. And that part, just the collecting part, I found really fun and kind of neat because you can just kind of admire these cards because the artwork is beautiful. There's haptic feedbacks. They use some of the traditional iOS UI elements. I mean, it's very custom, as most games are, but it's the job they've done in terms of making it work with iOS, I think is better than your typical game like this, and better than I think the Pokemon Company has done in the past. But there's also a whole online aspect of this, battling against other people. If you want to do that, you can battle against the computer, battle against other people. You can connect with your friends and look at their cards and see what they're doing. And, I know Mike Hurley's been playing it, and Brendan Bigley, our co-host on NPC, has. And so far, I've only been playing about 24 hours, but it's just a lot of fun. And yes, it does have the ability to subscribe for like $10 a month or buy as much as $100 of coins, gold, to buy little trinkets and accelerate the gameplay in the app. But that's not something I've ever really been super tempted by. If I were super deep into this, I could see being tempted by it, I suppose. On the other hand, I have so many games I want to play. I kind of appreciate that I can only open 2 packs of cards a day. So it ends up being like a 15-minute thing, like a couple of times a day. And then that's all. That pace is totally fine by me. And I so far haven't done the battling yet. You don't unlock that immediately. And I've had a couple of busy days, so I haven't really pushed the limits of this game yet. But I really like what I see so far.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
You should. I mean, it may not be something you play long term, but I think these games can be fun at times, and they can be kind of if approached the right way. I think they can kind of be one of those nice, fun mobile games that you just play a little bit of. The other app that I wanted to mention just dropped out of the blue, which was Nintendo Music.
I love this.
It is so good. It is. I mean, look, Nintendo has an extraordinarily large catalog of soundtracks, and they have dropped a lot of them into this music app. Now, not everything is here. You're going to see that there are a lot of games that aren't here. Tears of the Kingdom, a lot of recent games are not in here, and some systems only have a handful of games. But these are all Nintendo properties and the music in them. And it's not just even games. I mean, they have all of the background soundtracks to the different parts of the Wii in here. The Wii Store, the Wii Photographs section, the Wii downloading screen song is in here, which is a remarkably relaxing, great to fall asleep to song that you can actually extend from its default time period to up to 60 minutes, because that's probably the most unique thing about this app, is that it's not just a music player. There are certain of these songs which are effectively just loops, and you can extend the loop to 15, 30, or 60 minutes if you want, which is just nice for background music, whether you're working or trying to fall asleep or, I don't know, doing the dishes, whatever it happens to be. I've kind of liked it. I've been using it actually between recording NPC and this show. I put it in iPhone mirroring and was playing on the speakers on my Mac Studio display, which was nice.
Nice. Got a couple of things that I want to mention.
Okay.
I finished the Metaphor ReFantasio demo.
Do you like
it? I loved it. And I loved it. I finished the demo in about 6 hours.
Okay.
Purchased the full game, and I'm now going to start the full game post-demo. The progress is going to carry over. And it's very dense. Lots of storylines and mechanics being introduced in the first 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love it. It provides me with an opportunity to get into the Persona style of games.
Yeah.
Even though I never played a Persona game before.
Okay, that's interesting to know, because I have downloaded the demo. I haven't had the time to start it, and I'm not sure whether this is my kind of game, but I think if this is my kind of game, this is probably a good game to start with.
Yeah, I think so. We also finished watching season 4 of Only Murders in the Building. So I obviously won't spoil how it ends. We liked it. Personally, more so from my perspective than season 3.
Okay.
Sylvia, I think she liked season 3 better. I think, obviously nothing is as good as season 1 of this show. It also really changed. Like, I was able to piece it together that, who the murderer was episodes ago. But I think they're setting up very nicely for the season 5, which is going to be the last season. So I think I appreciated how maybe the finale was, not hugely shocking, but they are setting up very nicely for season 5. And also, like, Meryl Streep, she's just incredible. Like, she continues to be incredible as Loretta Durkin is in Only Motors in the Building, and yeah, season 4. And lastly, we started season 7 of The Neighborhood on CBS or Paramount Plus, and we also started season 2 of Shrinking on Apple TV Plus. So Shrinking is off to a really good start.
It is.
In season 2. We love it, and yeah, we'll talk about it again when it ends. And go listen to Magic Rays of Light, because I think both Sigmund and Devon have been talking about Shrinking, or will be talking more in depth about Shrinking. So that's that's a good show to listen to in the MacStories family of podcasts. Magic Rays of Light, all about Apple TV. So yeah, and season 2 of Shrinking, excellent.
Yeah, we've been enjoying Shrinking too, and I've been close to bringing it to the show. The only thing is that it's still fairly early in the season, so I wanted to wait a little bit, but I've been enjoying it as well. All right, Federico, before we go, I want to try something new for the show, which is I want to bring a deal to the show. And because as we record this, it's Halloween, I am bringing an Apple TV movie bundle to the show, both Scream and Scream 2022, the remake of the original Scream movie. And you can get these two movies for just $10 right now in a bundle, and we'll have a link in the show notes. I have not watched these movies in a while. I think I might, because Scream, what I love about Scream is it's just kind of, it's a classic horror movie that also pokes fun and is self-referential about the horror genre in particular. So really fun movie, and the remake that was done a few years ago was really good too.
All right,
Federico, that's it for this week's episode of MacStories Unwind. You can find the two of us over at MacStories.net. Federico is on Mastodon. Just go to Viticci.MacStories.net, or to follow me, go to JohnVorhees.MacStories.net. Federico is on Instagram and Threads, where he's at Viticci. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHWS. Talk to you next week, Federico.
ciao, John.